This poem is called Mankind's Shame. I am a man. I am a man. Though where once I dreamt of saying these words with pride, now they feel a little hollow. Where once it felt like a rite of passage, a journey from the frivolousness of boyhood into the responsibility of manhood, I no longer know exactly what that means, manhood. Where once I looked upon the examples of those three letters around me and was hopeful, eagerly anticipating my taking up the mantle that they so wonderfully carried, now I look at my reflection with a shame that cannot be rubbed off as easily as the blood on Lady Macbeth's hands. I am a man, an imperfect man, as we all are. I have not always been the best that I can be, and have birthed heartache and pain to those close to me through my actions. Yet I had always felt that through my journey and my growing into those three letters, I was becoming a man in the truest sense of the word. But now, when I look at the manifestations of those four words, I am a man, I am left with doubt and shame. The evil that men do in the name of being men wreaks havoc on the souls of women. The evil that men do in the name of being men is a battering ram that relentlessly hammers the body of women. The evil that men do in the name of being men brutally carves pieces out of the hearts of women. The evil that men do in the name of being men makes accomplices of us all who stand aside and watch. We're each complicit, guilty, responsible because of our inaction, because of our carelessness, because of our silence. The question is, how long shall we stand aside? How long shall we be silent in the face of the cruelty and brutality of men we claim do not operate in our name? We cannot wish or wash this away, and we cannot expect those who are our victims to fix this. This is on us. So every year on November 25th, which is International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, the 16 Days of Activism for No Violence Against Women and Children campaign is launched. Every year it runs for 16 days until December 10th, which is the Global Human Rights Day as per the United Nations. And yet every year we seem to move further and further away from making that violence a rarity. Earlier this year, a number of stories, came to our collective consciousness of women being brutally murdered, of women being brutally beaten. And there was a march, which I happened to participate in. So there was a march with us men saying that not in our name, we're not going to stand for this any longer. But at the same time, I think it's important that we find a way of translating that goodwill, if you want to call it, into action. So last year on Twitter, there was the hashtag Men Are Trash. And the sad thing for me was that too many men felt more concerned about what it said about us and what it said about, who we were. So you had a lot more men saying, we're not all like that. We're not all trash. There are good men out there, which I think is kind of a cop-out. Because if you look at the reality that many women face today, the reality that, walking on the street, basically just going about day-to-day lives, doing the ordinary things, the risks and the violence and the fear that accompanies them on that is more important than whether you consider yourself to be trash or not. And I really believe that we should take that as an impetus, that as a push to go, okay, guys, we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to acknowledge our responsibility, our complicitness in this. We need to be accountable. We're not holding ourselves accountable. We're not holding other men accountable. And as long as we do that, as long as we continue to distract, we'll never fix this problem. Because at the end of the day, how can you expect the victims, the victims of our violence, the victims of our actions, how can we expect the victims to fix a situation that rests with us? And yes, we are brought up with ideas of manhood being highly flawed. But we can't keep making excuses for it. So for me, this is an opportunity to hold myself accountable, to say, I'm not going to make excuses anymore. I'm not going to hide away from the fact that I am complicit because there are men out there that are doing these things. And even though I consider myself the kind of man who's not violent to women, who is trying the best that he can to raise his children, to be a good husband, to be a good father, to be a good brother, to be a good friend, I need to do more. And each of us needs to do more. And we need to come together and speak amongst each other honestly, and look at how we're raising our children, and look at how we're interacting with the women in our lives, and look at how other men are acting and interacting with other women in our lives, and holding them accountable. So, when a guy says something that is problematic, being able to nip that in the bud. And so for me, this is why this kind of campaign that First for Women is doing, which was launching this platform, which is the For Women platform, which is a platform for NGOs involved in doing anything against women, violence towards women and towards children. It's a space where people, NGOs can register on there, and if you are interested in doing something, you can also go in there and support and do something. And I think the most important thing is doing something. And this is kind of my little way of, I guess, in putting it out there, I'm holding myself accountable, because, I can't run away from this. I can't run away from the fact that I am saying, I think I need to do more. I think each of us as men needs to do more. And it needs us as men to come together and do more, and not expect women who are the victims, we're the perpetrators, and we can't expect women who are the victims to fix this. So this is kind of my little call to do my part and say, let's do more and look at ways of doing more.